أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي كان موجودا قبل حدوث الأشياء ويبقى بعد فناء الأشياء. تفرد بالأولية والقدم ووسم كل شيء ما عداه بالفناء والعدم. كما قال عز شأنه: كل شيء هالك إلا وجهه. وقال: كل من عليها فان ويبقى وجه ربك ذو الجلال والإكرام. وقال: كل نفس ذائقة الموت. سبحان من لا يخفى عليه اختلاف النيات ولا يعذب عنه معاصي العباد في الخلوات. سبحان الذي منه خلقة العباد وإليه المعاد. فمن يعمل مثقال ذرة خيرا يره ومن يعمل مثقال ذرة شرا يره. نشهد أن لا إله إلا هو الملك الذي لا ينازع في ملكه ولا يضاد في أمره. يعذب من يشاء بما يشاء كيف يشاء ويرحم من يشاء بما يشاء كيف يشاء. تعذيبه المسيئين عدل وعفوه تفضل. ونشهد أن محمدا سيد المرسلين والمنذرين صلى الله عليه وآله الهداة المهديين. من ركب سفينتهم نجا واهتدى ومن تخلف عنها ضل فغرق وهوى. أوصيكم ونفسي بتقوى الله ونظم أمركم. I advise you all to fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to organize our affairs. Dear mu'mineen, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We were talking about the sermon of Amir al-Mu'mineen, Imam al-Muttaqeen, Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salatu wa salam, which is famous with the name entitled the Sermon of Muttaqeen. And today is the third discussion, the third session, and we have reached the point where Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam now tells us what are the qualities of a pious person. Now, to just revise what we discussed previous week, Imam starts with the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and tells Hammam, the companion, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He created mankind and His creation, now Allah is sufficient and He does not require the obedience of mankind. If man obeys Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he is only going to benefit himself, he is not going to benefit Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if he does not obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he is not going to harm Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in any way, where a man himself is going to harm himself. Now then Imam Ali salatu wasalam explains that how Allah has divided the sustenance among people and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has assigned proper places to each and everyone amongst the creation. Now today we reach this phrase where Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam says, فَالْمُتَّقُونَ. Now who are these people? God-fearing people, pious people. فَالْمُتَّقُونَ فِيهَا هُمْ أَهْلُ الْفَضَائِلِ. Now this is the time Imam starts talking about the muttaqeen. Hum ahlul fadail. These are the people of distinction. These are the people of virtue. These are the people who have these qualities of a pious person. Hum falmuttaquna fiha hum ahlul fadail. Now since you know these words are the words of Imam Ali. These are not words of of a qualified person, of a scholar, of someone. No, these are the words of a person of high eloquence. Therefore, each and every word requires understanding, requires a person to give time and reflect upon. For me, such a student like me, I really cannot comment on every word. Now, even if I try, the time won't allow us. Therefore, I'm just going to refer to those commentaries which the scholars have commented, where the scholars they comment on every single word. Now they have the scholars in many of the commentaries, they have given special attention to this word ahlul fadail, to this word ahl, and its joining word al fadail. Now what is the meaning? Why Imam alayhi salatu wasalam starts with this phrase that al muttaquna fiha, these people, these God fearing people on the face of earth are the people ahlul fadail. These are the people of distinction, these are the people of virtue. Now this is very important in Islamic ethics, where the scholars they mention these qualities, and they say that every individual who wants to attain and who wants to gain these qualities and virtues must have these virtues within himself, embedded and deeply rooted. What does that mean? It means that it has to become a malakatun nafsaniyah, as they say in Arabic, that it has to be, you have to become an expert in that skill, in that ability to perform and to exhibit that virtue from yourself. You have to have that ability within yourself, which is deeply rooted and which is deeply ingrained in one's nature. Now, what is the difference? Why these scholars they ask such a quality when Imam says al-muttaquna fiha hum ahlul fadail? These people of piety, the pious people, are the people who have the capacity and who have the eligibility to become a pious, are these people. Now, how do we get this eligibility? How do we get this capacity to attain such virtues? Now, scholars here, they say that ahlul fadail is a very important point here, and we have to stop here for a moment and think, give it a thought, that to have these qualities embedded within oneself is important. Why? Sometimes, I'll give you an example. Many of you today came to the mosque, you drove your cars, you were on a bike, or now you know how to drive a car, you know how to ride a bike. But remember, go back to the time when you were learning how to drive, when you were learning how to ride a bike. Now, in those days, back in those days when you were learning, there used to be an instructor sitting beside you in a car, and he used to instruct you to apply, brakes and to accelerate the car. And every time he will, indicate, he will give you a command, he will instruct you to do this, to do that. But that time when you were learning, it was gradual. You were learning, you need to be told. But now, since you are an expert, pay close attention to this. Now you are an expert in driving a car or in riding a bike. Today, when you rode your car, or today when you drive your car, you don't think when to apply brakes, or you don't think and you don't ask anyone when to accelerate your car. You know it by instinct. It has become a skill which is deeply rooted in your nature. Now it has become a second nature for you. Therefore, you don't think so much over it. It is your second nature. Whenever you see an obstacle, you apply the brake. Now this applying a brake, no one tells you. You don't think, okay, now I see someone standing in front of the car, so I should apply. No, you do it instantly. You do it as if it is your nature. Nobody needs to tell you. Now, the scholars, they say, such ethical virtues of a pious person should be embedded in your nature and ingrained, so that it becomes your nature. It becomes a part of your nature. Now, what is the meaning of this? Sometimes you see people who are not pious, who have no faith, who are not believers, but you will see them. Now, this is the question that sometimes the youth, they ask, that we see a lot of non-believers doing good deeds, doing good actions, showing and exhibiting virtues, moral standards. They have qualities of pious people. Now, is it piety that Imam Ali ﷺ talks about? No. Imam says, hum ahlul fadail. The qualities should be embedded within you. No one should tell you for those qualities to exhibit. No one should tell you to, show those qualities. If you have shuja'at, if you have karam, if you have the ability of doing ihsan, if you have the ability of showing mercy towards others, it shouldn't be something which is something that has to be told. No, it should be your second nature. As soon as you see someone in need, you start helping them. This is your nature. This is what Imam Ali ﷺ says. It should become a malaka. Malaka means you should become expert in exhibiting these qualities. Now when Imam Ali ﷺ says, Hum ahlul fada'il, those people, the people of piety are the people who have the capacity and who have the ability to exhibit such virtues, are the people who are God-fearing people. Now sometimes we see, let me give you an example. We see sometimes, having patience and having this virtue of helm. Helm is something beyond sabr. Now, it is not my topic, so I will not go in details. But helm is someone who is, halim is someone who is patient. Who's patient when in hard times, when he's facing, difficult times. Now, sometimes this quality is categorized into two. A person might be halim, or a person might be mutahallim. A halim person is a person who has this ability to show patience in the face of hardship. Now he's halim. He has gained this virtue and has embedded and rooted deeply inside his nature. Now whenever he faces a calamity or a difficult time, he automatically, no one needs to tell him and remind him, you have to be patient. He is always patient. He does sabr. He is halim. Someone who is not having this quality and is still trying to have this and to possess this quality and to gain this ability to exhibit this virtue is known as mutahallim. He's not yet halim. These are the differences. He's not yet halim. He has not attained that level of being halim. He's still a mutahallim. He's acting to be like a person who is halim. Now Imam Ali says this is also good. In order to gain that helm, you have to at least try and show that you are halim. Show that you are patient. Let people remind you and tell you in the face of difficulties. Sometimes, God forbid, if someone passes, a loved one is lost, you go to them and you give condolence and you say, this is something that is going to, faced by everyone, and you be patient, yes? And you tell them to be, show sabr and to be halim. Now this reminder is sometimes beneficial for him, or sometimes it is not, because he's already in the state of sabr. He is halim. So now this difference is understood with these examples. We have to exhibit these virtues and we have to show them that they are embedded in our nature. Otherwise, a person is not a pious person. Sometimes he is exhibiting these virtues and sometimes he is not. This person is not a pious person. Sometimes when I find suitable for me, I'm going to help others. But sometimes if I don't find suitable for myself, I'm not going to help others. This is not a pious person. These are not the signs of piety. Imam says, a pious person, hum ahlul fada'il. These people have this distinction. These people have these virtues embedded and deeply rooted within their nature. Now, sometimes the question arises, how do you support the oppressed? How do you, support people who are facing difficult times? Our Muslim brothers and sisters in different parts of the world. Sometimes you give preference to your, benefits over others. Now, this is not a sign of a pious person. Now, a pious person, whenever he sees that there is oppression, where there are people who are in need of his help, he helps them. He helps them because it is embedded in his nature. He does not think, he does not give it a second thought. The example that I gave you, a person, as soon as he sees while driving, as soon as he sees an obstacle in front of him and he feels that he might, face an accident or something, he applies the brake. No one needs to tell him. Now, sometimes there are people in need. There are people in need of water, food, shelter, medical assistance, whatever. And there are, calls for donations. There are calls for help. People, post things on social media that please help these poor people. They are in need. people who are pious, people who have these abilities and these virtues embedded within themselves, they know they do not need reminders. They do not need reminders. They do not need people to tell them, please donate, please help this and that. Before even someone can remind them, they are already in that process. They are already doing that because it is embedded. No one needs to tell them to apply the brakes. In the example that I gave you, no one needs to tell them to go out and help them. Therefore, Imam, when he says and discusses these qualities in Khutba Mutaqeen, and when Imam says that pious people have such qualities, we need to understand that these qualities need to be embedded. Now, what is al-fadl? What are these fada'il? Imam alayhi salatu wasalam says, al-muttaquna fiha hum ahlul fada'il. Pious people, God-fearing people are the people who are eligible and have the capacity to have and attain these virtues. Now there is a narration from our beloved Prophet Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The Holy Prophet says, إِذَا جُمِعَ الْخَلَائِقُ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ نَادَى مُنَادٍ. When everyone will be gathered on the day of judgment and hereafter, there is going to be a call. Someone is going to call. There's going to be a voice heard. Aina ahlul fadl. Where are the people of virtue? Where are the people of distinction? Where are those people? فَيَقُومُ أُنَاسٌ هُمْ يُسِيرُوا فَيَنْطَلِقُونَ سِرَاعًا إِلَى الْجَنَّةِ. When this call is heard, a small group of people will rise and they will start walking anxiously, and they will run towards the heaven. Now on the way, while they are running towards the heaven, فَتَلَقَاهُمُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ فَيَقُولُونَ. A group of angels will come and meet these people, unas, the small group of people, whom ahlul fada'il. The malaika are going to descend and stop them and talk to them and meet them and say and ask that what has made you capable to run towards heaven while others are still engaged in their their hisab, their kitab, their giving whatever the deeds they did in this world. Now how did you attain such a position? فَتَلَقَاهُمُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ فَيَقُولُونَ إِنَّا نَرَاكُمْ سِرَاعًا إِلَى الْجَنَّةِ. We see that you are running towards the heaven. What is the issue? Why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is allowing you to run towards the heaven? These people are going to reply. This small group of people, they will say, نَحْنُ أَهْلُ الْفَضْلِ. We were the people of virtue. We were the people of distinction. فَيَقُولُونَ. They're going to ask them again, مَا كَانَ فَضْلُكُمْ. What was your virtue? What was your distinction? What were your capabilities and the signs? They are going to reply. This is what Imam Ali ﷺ says at the beginning, that hum fiha al-muttaqun, fiha hum ahlul fada'il. These people, pious people, God-fearing people, fiha. That is why I said that each and every word that Imam Ali ﷺ speaks needs to be, reflected upon, needs to be discussed. Now, fiha itself has an important significance here, that in this world, whatever you do, you are going to see the result in hereafter. Now, they are seeing the result in hereafter. And they will say, Ma kana fadlukum. What was your ability and what was your fadl, virtue and distinctiveness? Fayaqulun. They are going to reply now. Kunna idha zalimna ghafarna. Whenever we were wronged, whenever we were oppressed, we used to, neglect. We used to forgive. This was their first quality. وَإِذَا أُسِيَ إِلَيْنَا عَفَوْنَا. And whenever we were treated badly, we overlooked. People used to treat us sometimes badly. We overlooked. We forgave them. We did not, consider them anything. وَإِذَا جُهِلَ عَلَيْنَا حَلِمْنَا. And whenever we were treated with ignorance, we used to forgive them. We used to show patience. We were halim, halimna, and we used to show patience. These are the qualities of pious people. These are the qualities of ahlul fadl. These are the people, they have this distinctiveness, and they are distinct, and they have these virtues, and this is how. So the malaika and the angels are going to reply, فَيُقَالُ لَهُمْ أُدْخُلُوا الْجَنَّةَ فَنِعْمَا أَجْرُ الْعَامِلِينَ. Okay, so you possess this fadl. Now therefore, please enter the heavens ادخلوا الجنة فنعم أجر العاملين. We please enter the heavens, and it is a fine reward for the people who were, obeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and who were acting rightly in this world. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq to attain such virtues and to become pious people in this world. إن أحسن الحديث وأبلغ الموعظة كتاب الله. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر. صدق الله العلي العظيم. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا وشفيع المذنبين أبي القاسم مصطفى محمد وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين لا سيما حجة ابن الحسن المهدي عجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف. We were talking about the virtues of pious people and the qualities and the signs of pious people in light with the sermon of Imam Ali والسلام, where Imam counts and tells us about the characteristics and about the qualities of virtue and the virtues of pious people. Now, in order to gain these virtues, in order to attain this position and to get to this level, we have to have a certain amount of capacity, and we have to have this efficiency to show and to exhibit these virtues, as we talked about in the first part of the sermon, that we have to be amongst the ahlul fada'il. Now, scholars, they have mentioned 7 or 8 points and practices that we can do to achieve such capacities and to have this eligibility to exhibit such virtues. There were 8 or 9, I think 7 or 8. I will quickly point out only 4 of them. The first one is the consistency in doing something. Now, Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu wasalam, in their many of the narrations and the reports that we have, for example, this one where Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam says, "Qalilun yadum alayhi ajra min kathirin mamlulin minhu." That small amount of work that you do and which is performed consistently is better than a large deed which tires you out and which drains you and weakens you. You always need to perform something. You need to start with something small and to do it consistently, and don't stop doing it until you gain perfection and you reach the level of becoming expert in that skill and in that ability. Now, even the fifth Imam, he says, أَحَبُّ الْأَعْمَالِ إِلَى اللَّهِ تَعَالَى مَا دَامَ عَلَيْهِ الْعَبْدُ وَإِنْ قَلَّ. The best actions in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are the actions مَا دَامَ عَلَيْهِ الْعَبْدُ, are those actions which are done consistently and which are performed consistently, and they are not left halfway, even if they are small. Now, for example, if it is highly recommended to recite Quran every day or to pray Salat al-Tahajjud, one should start, at least try to pray those 3 rakats before sleeping. At least try to recite 2 ayats, 3 verses. Try to recite a page. No one is asking you to, sit down and recite 1 juz every day. Start with simple things, start with small things, but do it consistently. This is one of the most important practices that one can do and attain those virtues. Second important thing is that there has to be a gradual change in your life, especially when you want to attain and when you want to exhibit good virtues. You need to start gradually. You cannot change yourself suddenly. There is going to be, if you try to impose a sudden change, especially spiritual sudden changes, it's going to break you down. And these are there in narrations that you have to. We are talking about mustahabbat. We are not talking about wajibat. Wajibat, if one does not pray, for example, he has to start right then and there when he understands it's obligated on him. or her. But there are certain mustahabat you need to start gradually, and there has to be consistency. Now, again, there is a narration where the Holy Prophet says, أَيُّهَا النَّاسِ خُذُوا مِنَ الْأَعْمَالِ مَا تُطِيقُونَ. Take those deeds and perform those deeds which you can bear and you can perform. They should not be out of your capacity. You should be able to do those things. Now, these are some things which we need to understand. Even if a person goes, for training, for bodybuilding in a gym, he also needs to start gradually. He cannot, all of a sudden start, to change his body overnight. Same way, same rule applies while you want to attain good virtues in your spiritual life. Third important thing that the narrations they tell us is that you need to observe other people, you need to learn from other people, and you need to have good companions. You need to have good friends in your life. Friends always, either they are going to make you or they are going to break you. This is the rule. If you have good friends, they are going to make your life. And if you have bad company, they are going to spoil your life. They're going to destroy you. And by the time a person understands, this is especially a message for the youth, they need to understand sometimes we live in a world of delusions that these friends are helping us out, but they are friends in your crimes, in your evil doings. You have to refrain from such company and from such a companionship where Ahl Bayt alayhi salatu wasalam, they say that قارن أهل الخير تكن منهم. Associate with good people in a manner that you become one of them. Associate and have good company so that you become one of them. وفارق أهل الشر تبن عنهم. And you separate yourself from bad people so that people can distinguish you from them. People can understand that you are not amongst them. You are good people. Now, sometimes relating this to our contemporary events, we at least in today's world need to, if we cannot do something, at least talk something. So at least in today's world we see so much crime against humanity, so much oppression, so much brutality, so much chaos, massacre around us, especially towards the Muslim Ummah, towards the Muslimin. Now, at least what we can do is to separate ourselves, to separate the ranks, and to so that people can distinguish that these people are not those people who oppress others. These people who are talking and condemning the oppressors are not amongst the oppressors. They are amongst the oppressed, or at least they are the supporters of the oppressed. So it is very logical, and it is very something very clear. Now, Imam Ali again says, there was a companion. He came to the Holy Prophet and asked, Ya Rasulullah, what are the qualities of a good companion? This is what Rasulullah replied, and he said that the best companion is the one man dhakkarakum billahi ru'yatahu, one whose ru'yat, whom when you see, whose sight reminds you of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A good companion is a companion whose sight reminds you, just seeing him, just looking at him, reminds you of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What does this tell us? This tells us at least our appearance should be the appearance that reminds us and others of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It should not be something that reminds us of worldly affairs. It should be something that reminds us of hereafter. And the second quality is وَزَادَكُمْ فِي عَمَلِكُمْ مَنْتِقُهُ. And their words, your companion should be someone whose speech and words increases your knowledge. Again, the youth, they need to understand that if you are in a company of people, try to filter them down with these criteria, that are these friends reminding you of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or are they taking you away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? This is very important. It's a very simple and a very clear criteria and a principle. And second important thing, Rasulullah says, وَزَادَكُمْ فِي عَمَلِكُمْ مَنْتِقُهُ فِي عِلْمِكُمْ مَنْتِقُهُ. And their speech is going to increase your knowledge. Their speech and their words, when you sit with them, when you are in their company, what you talk about, what you discuss with them, is it increasing your knowledge? Is it giving you something? Is it beneficial for you? This is something very important to, to learn from these ahadith, especially again the youth. They should know that, are my friends helping me gain something, some good knowledge? And the third important property that these companions should have is that وَذَكِّرْكُمْ بِالْآخِرَةِ عَمَلُهُ, and their actions will remind you of the hereafter. Their actions should remind you of Qiyamah. Their actions should remind you of Al-Akhirah. And if these things are there, then your friends are good. Very quickly, fourth, last point that Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu wasalam told us in order to gain these qualities and these virtues of pious people is again something which is very important, and we lack in this thought. We don't practice it much, but it is the issue of tasweef. Now, what is tasweef? In Arabic, there is a term which is known as sawfa. Sawfa means in near future. Some people, they keep on postponing and they keep on delaying good things. Now, this is tasweef. Sawfa. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it the next week. I will do it the next Ramadan. Why don't you go and rejoin and rejoice and, get your matters settled with your relatives? Maulana, I will do it in Ramadan. Let Ramadan come, that is a good. No, don't delay. Why don't you go and ask the forgiveness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? We'll do it in Ramadan. Maulana, I was thinking we'll go to Karbala and we'll ask for forgiveness. Don't wait for Karbala. Don't wait for anything. Don't delay. Don't postpone. Sometimes we keep on delaying. We keep on postponing. No, don't wait for that. This is something which is known as tasweef. And the fifth Imam, he says, إِيَّاكَ وَتَسْوِيفَ فَإِنَّهُ بَحْرٌ يَغْرُقُ فِيهِ الْهَلَكَةِ. إِيَّاكَ وَتَسْوِيفَ. Refrain and beware of postponing things. Beware of delaying your affairs, which is this tasweef is a sea in which the doomed have drowned. Many have drowned in this sea, in this deep sea, which is tasweef. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it the next day. I will do it next month. No, if it is good, you do it today, and right when you learn. Now there's a story where Amirul Mu'minin alayhi salatu wasalam, one night a man came with a lot of wealth and with a lot of money to Imam, and this is the time of the caliphate of Imam alayhi salatu wasalam, and he came and he said that, Mawla, I want to distribute this wealth among the poor and the needy and the orphans and the widows. Imam alayhi salatu wasalam took that amount and called some of his companions and said, at that late hour of night, Imam called and said, we have to go and distribute all this that we received today. We received right now. So those companions, they said, Mawla, it's night, it's late. Let us do it tomorrow. In a bright daylight, we'll do it, and we'll wait for the morning. Imam said that, can you guarantee my life? Can you guarantee that tomorrow I will see the day? I will see the next morning? They said, no, Mawla, we don't have command over that. We don't have any authority over your life. So Mawla said, why are you then, asking me and to delay and to postpone this good deed? Whereas I believe that as soon as you understand that this is your duty, you need to perform. So Imam alayhi salatu wasalam, at that night, at that late hour, he distributed those things. He asked for a candle, a lamp, and he went out to distribute those donations which Imam alayhi salatu wasalam received. So we need to understand, and we need to get these virtues embedded in our nature and make it our second nature, so that these qualities, we may gain this capacity and this eligibility to show and to exhibit the virtues of pious people, which Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam talks about here. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq to understand the words of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salatu wasalam and to act upon it, insha'Allah ta'ala. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Inna ahsan al-hadith wa ablaghul maw'idha kitabullah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalam wa tahiyyatu wal ikram ala nabiyyina Muhammadin sallallahu alayhi wa alihi. وصل على وصي رسول رب العالمين وآيتك الكبرى والنبأ العظيم يعصوب الدين أمير المؤمنين علي بن أبي طالب. وصل على صديقة الطاهرة فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين. وصل على الحسن والحسين سبطي الرحمة وإمامي الهدى سيدي شباب أهل الجنة. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى علي بن الحسين. اللهم صل على محمد ومحمد بن علي. اللهم صل على محمد وجعفر بن محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وموسى بن جعفر. اللهم صل على محمد وعلي بن موسى. اللهم صل على محمد ومحمد بن علي. اللهم صل على محمد وعلي بن محمد. اللهم صل على محمد والحسن بن علي. اللهم صل على محمد والحسن بن العسكري والخلف القائم المنتظر المهدي عجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف. اللهم اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات الأحياء منهم والأموات. تابع بيننا وبينهم بالخيرات إنك مجيب الدعوات إنك على كل شيء قدير. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر.